My name is Mark Eliani. I'm part of a group involved in building the Moroccan Jewish Museum and Archive for Living Culture at Moshav Sedot Micah. We acquired a property between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and we are converting farm buildings into a museum and archive. One building will serve as a museum and the second as an archive. The archive will house manuscripts as well as old and newer books stretching from the decline of Babylon and the rise of Moroccan Spanish Jewry to our days. The archive will house a cafe to accommodate researchers and interested parties in music, documentation, and poetry of Moroccan Jewry. Grants will be used to encourage research and groom a young generation of students and researchers. Our archive will house the collection of manuscripts and books of the Orot Institute of Rabbi Dr. Moshe Amar. Combining his rabbinical collection with our contemporary one, we will build a publication society similar to the Jewish Publication Society in America to promote Jewish Moroccan culture. Our museum and archive will also co-publish the Brit periodical in collaboration with Asher Knafo. At the museum, we will hold exhibits that extend from our antiquities to our own time. We will rely on Paul Dahan's Jewish Moroccan Heritage Center collection, as well as collaborate with other parties based on an open collaboration policy. The Moroccan Jewish Museum and Archive for Living Culture will present multimedia exhibits which offer visitors active participation for workshops, lectures, as well as food and entertainment festivals. For example, along an exhibition of jewelry making, there would be videos of craftsmen producing similar work, a craftsman at work, as well as workshops for interested visitors. There would be also a museum shop selling reproductions as well as original works. The museum may also initiate an open market to sell and exchange antique jewelry in conjunction with exhibits. And to the extent possible, we will also hold conferences focusing on related matters, such as research on jewelry making in Morocco. The property at Sedot Micah will be managed by a non-profit association and managed by Mark Eliani with the help of volunteers. So far, a guest house was built to accommodate artists and lecturers in residence, and work on a garden and ground installation is ongoing. Surrounding the archive and museum compound, we are close to completing a mud installation, a tribute to rural Moroccan Jews who came to Israel in the early 50s and settled moshavim and development towns in the remote outskirts of Israel. The installation consists of a mud wall surrounding the museum compound, as well as a small mud house, 4 mud ovens, 2 for ceramics and 2 for bread and matzah making. Behind the mud ovens, we built a significant sculpture of a man, a woman, and a child looking from the west to the east to express the yearning of Moroccan Jews to Zion and Jerusalem. Behind the sculpture, we built a sitting area where meetings and groups will be accommodated. Between the archive and the museum, we are building a Moors courtyard, an interior sculpture garden with fountains. The exterior of these existing farm buildings will be preserved, and a huge mural will be painted over them. Names of moshavim and development towns established by Moroccan Jews will be written over them, along with family names of the settlers. This is our bustan, an oriental garden, a mix of fruit trees consisting of figs, pomegranates, citrus, and cactus trees, among other plants, surrounding the museum and main farmhouse. Subject to water consumption constraints, we are in the process of making our bustan a botanical garden. Our work is done in compliance with ecological principles. We recycle tires and construction materials to build walls, stairs, pathways, and so forth. We also recycle water for reuse in toilets and gardening. With time, we intend also to use wind and solar power. Settlers in most small villages in Israel used to make a living from farming. But the restructuring of the Israeli economy reduced the feasibility of profitable farming in small scales, making economic renewal a necessity. As many of the villages are populated by one dominant group of immigrants, cultural tourism is proposed as a venue of economic development. The idea is based on setting up a museum and archive of a specific ethnic group, for example, a Moroccan Jewish Museum and archive for living culture, and encourage settlers to build tourism services around it. The ultimate objective is to encourage multicultural development in Israel and intercultural tolerance, and anchor them in an underlying and self-sustaining structure of productive economic, educational, and cultural activities.